What's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Spectacular Spoiler League. I'm one of your hosts, the Pandan Superman, the mayor of Hype City, HazyRome. And of course, I'm joined by the Gotham Knight, the Prime Minister of Post-Production, DeepBoyce, man. And we're here to talk a little bit about some semi-controversial words from a Marvel executive who basically said fans don't want diversity in their comics, man.
Yeah, and that's why the comics apparently aren't selling, or diversity doesn't sell. In a way.
Right.
But you got the exact quotes, so I guess maybe you should read them off so we can kind of sound off on what he said.
Definitely. So David Gabriel, Marvel's Senior Vice President of Sales and Marketing, and speaking about the lack of sales in certain comics for Marvel, he made the following statement in an interview with ICV2.com. So he said, what we heard from retailers was that people didn't want any more diversity. They didn't want female characters out there. That's what we heard, whether we believe that or not. I don't know that that's really true, but that's what we saw in sales. We saw the sales of any character that was diverse, any character that was new, or female characters, anything that was not a core Marvel character, people were turning their nose up against. That was difficult for us because we had a lot of fresh, new, exciting ideas that we were trying to get out, and nothing new really worked. He did try to clear up that statement.
Yeah.
I suppose we could get to that later. I don't know if you want to just, hit that right now.
Yeah.
But
let's see what he said and follow.
So that statement understandably drew a lot of criticism. So he tried to clarify his remarks, and it's kind of like a long statement here, and another statement to ICV2. Let's get it started. So, discussed candidly by some of the retailers at the summit, we heard that some were not happy with the false abandonment of the core Marvel heroes, and contrary to what some said about characters not working, the sticking factor and popularity for a majority of these new titles and characters like Squirrel Girl, Miss Marvel, the Mighty Thor, Spider-Gwen, Miles Morales, and Moon Girl continue to prove that our fans and retailers are excited about these new heroes. And let me be clear, our new heroes are not going anywhere. We are proud and excited to keep introducing unique characters that reflect new voices and new experiences into the Marvel universe and pair them with our iconic heroes. We have also been hearing from stores that welcome and champion our new characters and titles and want more. They've invigorated their own customer base and helped them grow their stores because of it. So we're getting both sides of the story, and the only upcoming change we're making is to ensure we don't lose focus of our core heroes.
Well, it's a lot to unpack there. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
I guess for starters, he kind of tripped up with what he initially said, and I guess it's up to interpretation, but I think the second one is a very, PR, nicely crafted statement.
Absolutely.
Not to completely shit on the guy, but ultimately I disagree with the idea that that's the problem with Marvel. There's something there in terms of, I guess, diversity having an adverse effect, but it's much more nuanced than that.
Sure, it's not just diversity as the reason why some of these characters aren't taken.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, because Marvel Comics has other problems that are more significant as to why they're not selling well. The comics aren't being as well received. But in terms of diversity, I mean, for starters, whenever there's change, it's typically not received well, regardless of what it is you're doing. If you just change things up, you add something new, it won't always be well received. And in relation to that, diversity is always great, but there is a way of doing it. Both of us, we do want to see more diversity in comics and a lot of these other things. See more different points of views and storylines, but you also don't shoehorn them in. You don't just, you have to position them correctly. For example, Miles Morales positioned correctly. We got to know him. We still had Peter Parker and all the other Spider-Man and Spider characters, but we got to spend time with Miles Morales and see him have his own storylines and stand on his own 2 feet until it was finally, hey, here's the mantle of being Spider-Man. A bad example is Riri Williams.
Right.
You're killing a very popular character. I mean, Tony Stark, once Robert Downey Jr. started doing the movies, became extremely popular.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, you're just going to kill him alongside something else, a big story arc, which we'll get into in a second, which wasn't well received. And then you suddenly kill him, and then you don't give the character Riri Williams enough time to breathe and to develop and to come into her own. which is not doing anyone any favors.
No,
but
not at all.
With that said, at the same time, fans are very either they have very short memory, or they just don't know. They just haven't been around long enough, or they haven't been paying attention, or they're selectively paying attention to certain things. But comics have always been like this. Comics have always just like randomly killed people and then just added a new character, and people hated it. And I mean, look at Jason Todd. They added him, and people hated him, and then they gave us the option to kill him, and we killed him. Came back, and now he's a popular character. People like him.
Even more recent example, Damian Wayne. A lot of people hated Damian Wayne when he first came out.
Yes,
you know, I mean, the current Robin, and you know, now not only is he, you know, more accepted in DC, but I mean, Super Sons in the month of February, you know, that's the most recent sales figure we have right now. Super Sons, one of the top selling comic books right now. You know, that's him and Superman's son front and center. Teen Titans also doing well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's another one with Damian Wayne front and center. Just had to give him time.
Yeah. And this is unfortunately, I mean, tied into a very heated debate and conversation, because it ties into much larger issues that are going on in our society, which is, I guess, this, you know, this more leftist point of view and more leftist direction that Marvel Comics is seemingly taking, because some people feel that Marvel Comics is trying to pander too much, I guess is maybe the word. But that's always been comics. Comics has always tried to emulate and replicate whatever's going on in the current day, whatever people are talking about. You know, they try to find any wave and they try to ride it, for good or for bad. But again, I don't feel those are the major issues. That's not the reason why Marvel Comics has been failing since last summer. And DC Rebirth has absolutely been destroying it. I think to say, oh, well, diversity is the major issue is a lie, and is also not going to make Marvel Comics better, because most of us want to see Marvel Comics better. I like Marvel Comics, and I want to see them do better, and especially the main characters do better. But when Marvel Comics are out here selling for $5 an issue, meanwhile DC Rebirth is selling for $3, if not $2 or $3 an issue, of course people are going to buy DC Rebirth. Are you going to buy Batman or Superman for $3, or are you going to buy, you know, this new Riri Williams character for $5 that you don't know anything about, that you're just not really all that interested in?
I mean, you already know the answer to that. I mean, they do, at the lowest I've seen Marvel Comics sell for $4. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that price difference, it does make a difference if the writing simply isn't better. Yeah. You know, like DC, you know, no offense, you know, like, once again, I love Marvel and I want them to be successful. And, you know, we've definitely shown DC hate on some of our other videos. But DC Rebirth has been firing on a lot of cylinders.
Fantastic.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely fantastic. And you're right on the writing end of things. That's really the major issue as to why Marvel Comics haven't been doing good. Because Marvel Comics, when they did All New, All Different, it was selling like crazy until DC Rebirth came around.
Absolutely.
It took time. It took time for people to say, wow, I'm not really liking this storyline. I don't like where they're taking my favorite character. I don't like that they're derailing my character storyline to put them into Civil War 2, which sucks.
Right.
And
I mean, Civil War 2 was a mess.
It was.
That was a mess.
Marvel, they do too many big crossovers, and they don't do them well enough. They need to let things chill. They need to let characters breathe, and they're just not doing that. I mean, oddly enough, we were looking at the sales the other day, and Marvel barely cracks the top 30, which is like crazy.
Yeah, we were looking at I'm sorry, we were looking at the sales figures from February 2017. The time we're recording is currently the beginning of April, so we don't have the March sales figures yet. But if you look in like the top 25, the only Marvel comic that's there is their Star Wars comics. Nothing from like their main heroes, except for Inhumans vs. X-Men.
Yeah, and that's because
that's the only one.
That's because Marvel finally realized, hey, people actually like the X-Men. We should maybe not throw them into the trash. And what are they doing with X-Men? they're putting on like 5 different X-Men books.
Actually, there was one more comic too, Clone Conspiracy, Spider-Man.
Well, Spider-Man.
Well, that was at number 24. Barely cracked the top 25.
Yeah, well, you know, Spider-Man. That's
Spider-Man.
You know, exactly. That's not a surprise, but
and Amazing Spider-Man, that one too.
Yes.
But
yeah, I mean, we honestly, we're both in agreement that it's not really diversity, but while we do want to see diversity, we also want to see these characters done justice. We want these characters to kind of take time and you know, stand on their own 2 feet. not be the new this or the new that. Have them be their own characters, and it is tough.
Absolutely.
It's obviously
Absolutely.
it's a tough task to say, hey, here's a completely new character, and get into it. But you use Iron Man to elevate a Riri Williams. You don't just eliminate Iron Man and then put her there to replace him.
Right.
That just
right.
I don't know. That hardly ever works. There's so many characters that we could just sound off on that are replacements for major characters that never worked. I mean, speaking of Spider-Man, Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
Replacement.
Ben Reilly. A lot of people hated Ben
Didn't work.
Reilly.
Jason Todd, replacement for Dick Grayson. Didn't work.
Didn't work, but what happened? They brought him back and they made him his own hero.
Yeah.
Better than ever.
And they gave him
came back better than ever.
They gave him an interesting story.
Absolutely. I mean, just to tie up what you're saying, man. It's the issue with diversity is not. It's not that you're introducing these diverse characters.
Mm-hmm.
As DeepBoyce said, there have been many times where new characters have been introduced and people did not take to these characters. Mm-hmm. It's the way in which they're being introduced. Yeah. For starters, a lot of these new characters, they're not necessarily new characters. They're taking over the mantle of somebody else.
No.
And whenever you have something like that, especially someone like take a character like Riri Williams, mm-hmm. Iron Man, so Tony Stark has been the Iron Man costume forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's gonna be tough when you're doing that. To harken back to David Gabriel's statement, he tried to kind of cover up the fact that he originally said that customers allegedly don't want more diversity by saying, oh, we already have these diverse characters and they're gonna keep going. Mm-hmm. I feel like that didn't address the original statement in that he referred to more diversity, as in more characters who are diverse.
Yeah.
He didn't really renege on that statement. And that's an issue. That's a problem.
Yeah, and I guess he sort of said it, but there are characters that are I guess diverse, different backgrounds, and they are doing well, and they are good comics.
For sure, absolutely. Miss Marvel's one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's one of those things where we have to be willing to have a conversation, and Marvel has to be willing to look at the flaws. I mean, those sales figures we just talked about. I mean, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
That you look at 25 comics that are at the top, and like Marvel doesn't have half of them.
Yeah.
That's highly embarrassing. And if you look at like the ones at the top, it's the DC Rebirth comics, man.
Yeah.
It's like the Rebirth comics, man.
And to Rebirth's credit, and this is another point, who said that people don't want to read Iron Man? Like, why are we losing these characters? People still want Tony Stark and Bruce Banner and a lot of these other characters. To suddenly just kind of take them away, especially for a whack ass crossover event.
Sure.
That's a double blow to the fans.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, Marvel they are taking some of the right steps that they need to take in regards to introducing diversity and hopefully having a new generation of diverse characters that will eventually be implemented into the movies at some point. Yeah. They have Adameus Cho as the totally awesome Hulk. They have Riri Williams as Ironheart / Iron Man, whatever you want to call her. Mm-hmm. They've got Miles Morales as Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. They've got Jane Foster as Thor right now. Mm-hmm. There is a foundation. It's just the way in which they introduce these characters and the time they give them, it has to be a little bit more careful, and they have to consider the fact that they are changing something. Sometimes it's not best just to rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
And hope that, it'll be that, there'll be a little bit of pain and people will get used to it. Mm-hmm. People were upset with Miles Morales when he first came out. They were upset.
They were.
There were a lot of people mad.
They were.
About Miles Morales.
Yeah.
And part of the issue was that they said, okay, we're going to make this, character and he's going to be Spider-Man now.
Yeah, I mean...
And it's like, why can't we just introduce characters? I'm not saying that they shouldn't have other characters take over these roles, but, they didn't even do it like full, with their first foot forward, because they still left Peter Parker Spider-Man in the main comics, in the main storyline, Earth 616, I believe it was, right?
Yeah.
When that was going on. So, I mean, now it's a little bit different, but they didn't exactly set Miles Morales up for success at the beginning.
Yeah.
They were like, oh, we're going to use Miles Morales for our, non-canon Ultimate Universe and let that rock.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well, part of the problem that was going on there is, you know, Brian Michael Bendis was doing a good job of Ultimate Spider-Man, and he did introduce Miles Morales, but then when he left to do more, you know, storylines with the main continuity, they had somebody else come in, and then he did, like, again, a major crossover, a major event that killed Peter Parker in Ultimate Universe, and it was just like a whack storyline that people weren't crazy about. So that added heat to Miles Morales being the new one, even though, you know, it was kind of a touching moment where he kind of passed on the mantle and he was like, "You're the new Spider-Man, and I'm going to go see Uncle Ben," and blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, it did work out, I guess, because they kind of merge all the universes and everything, and you have various Spider characters. And to have, like, Peter Parker and then a young Peter Parker would be a little weird. But since you have this Miles Morales and then you have Peter Parker, you have this and that, works out well. And they gave him time, you know, room to breathe. So
yeah, and you know, I think to, you know, just put a bow tie on everything, on a little bow on everything. Diversity in comics, you know, especially regarding Marvel and DC, it's more than just people don't want diversity or people do want diversity. It's the way in which it's done.
Yeah,
and I mean, you have to really you know, consider all the factors that we talked about in seeing why Marvel Comics is having issues with some of these diverse characters.
Yeah, I mean, DC's also doing diversity as well. It's not like they're not doing anything. It's just they're not like killing Superman out of nowhere or like Batman. You know, they're just they're fitting it in where it works.
I mean, let's take one thing for example, right? With Batman, right? So they introduced a character named Duke Thomas in the We Are Robin storyline, you know, a while back. And now he's currently in the comics as a character named Lark. And they specifically had it so that he wasn't the new Robin.
Yeah.
They specifically gave him a new name, a new title, and Batman even says in the comics, he's not Robin, we're doing something different here.
Hey.
Got a new character, Duke Thomas, African-American, black, new role, still working with Batman in a partner role. But you don't have the issue of saying, oh, well, is he the new Robin? Is he better than Dick Grayson? You know, Tim Drake, Jason Todd, Damian Wayne? No, you just subvert that by creating a new character. You know, on the flip side, you take a character like Batwoman, who's already been established, but let's be honest, she doesn't have as much mainstream you know, credibility as Batgirl. But you take her, you put her front and center in Detective Comics, one of their flagship you know, lines. And you also give her own comic, Batwoman Rebirth, #1, to put this, you know, LGBTQ character front and center and have her, you know, be elevated amongst fans.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying DC's perfect with that, but that to me is a smart approach. They're not killing off their main characters, but they're being smart and careful about it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, you know, David Gabriel, you know, your foot got caught in your mouth a little bit. But I hope you're listening to fans, and I hope that criticism, you know, showed Marvel what people really want. I hope so.
Yeah.
And let's hear some more diversity in comics, but done in a way where the fans can enjoy it. All the fans can enjoy it.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
All right.
Yeah.
We getting out of here, guys. Tell us what you think in the comments. Hit us with a like if you like what you heard. If you didn't like what you heard, feel free to leave us a comment and you know, give us your stance on everything, man. We definitely want to hear that. Anyway, we're getting out of the hole of spoilers. Thank you for checking out the video. We'll check you guys on the next one. Have a good one.
Peace.